the chair of the program committee, which has been arranging these lectures for this season. And so I'm pleased with our turnout, and I think someone's coming in with additional chairs in case we need them. I'm pleased to introduce Richard Fraser and his wife Nancy, who's by the computer, the laptop there, to talk about, as you see on the screen, the history of Maine-built automobiles and motorized vehicles, 1834 to 1934, with the history of Maine license plates. And he also has a few artifacts here to show to us, and so I expect us to have quite a good time this evening learning about these old automobiles. So, Richard Fraser from Poland. You're from Poland. We talk about autos. Okay. Just put that there.
I started this hobby back 40-some years ago, 50-some years ago now. Time flies. It's a passion I can't get away from. I need it like bread and butter. I survive on it. I get my highs over it. I have 5 automobiles in collection. We have 5 cars in our collection now out there. We've been doing this research. This second edition was 18 years of research. The first one took us 25. We published back in '91, the first edition. We have 74 additional makes since the first edition, plus a lot of new material. We're very impressed with the material that's in the book for the educational factor. And the thing is, Lewiston, Auburn was only second place to Portland, and we was first. Besides, the most activity was Portland. Lewiston, Auburn was second, but yet we got on the map first. We had an automobile running around Lewiston here in 1887. As you'll see in a few minutes and like that. So the history is so ripe. We all need to find our hobbies and things like that. Especially the society needs somebody to research different angles, subjects and like that, to educate the rest of us. I want to learn something new from somebody else. This is my subject. The automobile on the cover was made right here in Lewiston for a lady doctor, not Auburn, excuse me. It was found in Reedfield in 1977. Today there is discussion on bringing it back to Maine. It's over in London, England right now, preparing to go on the London-Brighton run. It's been famous since 1885 over there. The repeal of the red flag law, where any self-propelled vehicle had to be preceded by a person waving a red flag. So that slowed the speed of the vehicle down. So everybody thought that was great, obviously people. In 1895 it repealed, they celebrated going from London to Brighton, which is about 56 miles back then. Today the run is 65 miles, I understand, we had to try to go around a very large hill to help preserving these vehicles that are over 100 years old. To go on that run, you have to have a 1904 or older automobile. And they have somewhere in the 600 to 800 vehicles in this tour. So from all over the world, if there's any tour, there is no tour more important than the London-Brighton to us old car people. We're dreaming of making it with our 1904 Cadillac in the near future. Not this year, we can tell you that, because it's the first Sunday in November. If you want, we can get going. Afterwards, there'll be questions and answers. Things to look over here. Time to bring you up to trinkets from the state of Maine. Thank you all for coming. Anytime there's a question on the slide, it's on the screen, please speak up, raise hand, whatever it takes. We're here for a good time. So let's have a great time.
Maine's first auto, Richard D. Rice, Hollowell, Maine in 1858.
This is the first personalized self-propelled vehicle in the state of Maine. The newspaper clipping described this vehicle, and they did very well with duplicating on the drawing for what the judge looked like in the steering mechanism and so forth. The driving mechanism with a shaft and sprocket coming out of the water tank isn't quite right, but the principle is there, and you see how crude it was, made out of wood. Steering is from a sailboat, converted back to go that way. The brake was something he added on his second run, because what was it, 2 years ago they had an oil truck that went down over a hill into Hollowell, into a store. Well, the same hill he came down, but he forgot to have brakes on his first time. So 100 years later, they did it again.
Maine, Nickerson, Belfast, and Portland, 1883 to 1895.
I believe there are built 3 vehicles in 1883, 1885, and 1895. This is vehicle number 3, we believe. There's a chain sprocket on the rear end, but no other signs of power. Speed, internal combustion, electric, steam, nothing is there except the sprockets on the rear end. But you look at the photographs, it's so interesting for the beauty of it, and like that, the wood grain that you can see so well, the window to look in and see the mechanics, it's not in there. And in behind, there's a horizontal stick coming out of the wall, and there's a wire coming down through, and on the bottom of it is a loop for your foot. And it's used maybe for a homemade jigsaw or a bandsaw or something. Idea of cutting something with using this spring action. He hung up his jacket, a coat behind the car to get more contrast. The more chemicals on the glass negative failed us on the front of it, but we got most of it. It's just beauty and grace. Early Maine. I'm pretty happy with the things we did here in Maine and have done.
Edwin F. Field, Lewiston, 1887.
This one here, the newspaper coverage on this is really unreal for the amount that they went into the detail of trying to start the thing up and like that and running it around and like that. The rear wheels were 5.5 feet tall. So he thought maybe he was going to find some mud to go through. I don't know, but you know, the boiler is in the rear, the engine is in the center, and the water tank is in the front. Notice the steering wheel. I believe the principle of it probably come off in a railroad car where they had a brake on the back of it, because 99% of everything else at this time and for years coming up forward was tiller drive, but this had a steering wheel. Yes, ma'am.
How'd they get up into it?
There's steps, just like a wagon on the sides there. You can see one hanging down right there, basically in front, you know, in the middle of the vehicle between the 2 wheel tires. Right there's a step.
These first ones that you're showing, were these one of a kind rather than
Yes.
making 5 or 6 of them?
No, they're all one of a kind. You know, those of us that's ever been around a horse has an aroma. They have diseases that make them have actions, and when you're behind the horse with a sickness or something, you get sprayed. You have to clean them. You have to have the doctor's bills, feed them, and everything else. This, when you park it, it's just like your car today. There it sits. You don't have to feed it. You don't have to take care of it. So it just, these people are they're all followers, because somewhere they read about it, thought about it themselves to get into this, get away from the horse. I'm allergic to them, I'm sick of cleaning up after them, I'm sick of smelling them, the whole thing. But so far, everything is steam that we've seen so far. This is
Foster, Westbrook, 1889 to 1896.
Notice that this is a self-propelled tricycle. The front wheel and steering looks similar to a bone shaker bicycle. bone